Hello, greetings, everybody. Peace be unto you. You know, over time, I've created these intros to these videos, and I decided to go without that for today because this isn't a show. It's not a game. Sometimes in this life, we think we have to play parts, show up as who we were taught we had to be, when all God intended us to be is ourselves. I'm Christian Stovall. And I've spent the last 10 to 15 years researching my family, who I am. I once heard that adage, know thyself, and boy, did I go into it. Okay. And through the exploration of my genealogy and my family history, I learned some amazing truths about American history. And since this is Black History Month, I decided what other perfect time will there be to tell the truth? And I decided I no longer want to spend my whole entire time trying to prove things to anyone. I just need to be who I am. Now, what I found out was that although they teach us here in America that they brought Black people here on slave ships from Africa, and our whole entire existence is to serve this system, I learned that that was a big fat lie, and that Black people have actually been here since time immemorial. We were the ones who were found here, along with other indigenous people. We were found here. We were the ones who were found here by the colonists in the 15 and the 1600s. And I have dedicated my life to building this foundation called the Fair to set the record straight and teach people exactly who we are. And the reason why people have been taught to hate Black people is because we are in fact the heirs to this land, and we represented freedom that the powers to be didn't want anyone to have. And that's really what this broadcast is about today. I learned that through various means, land was stolen from the Aboriginal Americans. And you know what? We're going to play our original American identifiers, and then we're going to get back into it.
Who are the original Americans? History has been rewritten, but the truth remains. The foundation for American Indian restoration and education, or simply the Fair, is here to set the record straight. Our foundation is simple. The Fair stands on its signature original American identifiers to define what an original American truly is. Our mission is to uncover the truth, reconnect descendants, and restore a lost heritage. Through our Fair Original American identifiers, we reveal the true identity of the original American. The emblem of America. The emblem of America is an allegorical figure from the British Museum and is noted to be an ethnic representation of the American people. So what exactly is an American? The definition of American. The 1828 Webster's Dictionary defines an American as a native of America, originally applied to the Aboriginals, or copper-colored races, found here by the Europeans, but now applied to the descendants of Europeans born in America. Colonial and U.S. Census records. Early U.S. Census records show that for the first 70 years, only two racial categories existed: colored and white. Who were these colored people? The fair asserts that they were the original inhabitants of this land. DNA. Ancestry.com DNA analysis labels the only communities for the region of indigenous North America as either African American or European settler. Surprisingly, there aren't any Native American communities listed for these lands, leaving the African American communities the only ones given the nationality American, proving that those labeled as African American today are the true original Americans. Your ancestry holds the key. The fair encourages everyone to research their genealogy, connect with historical records, and rediscover their true roots. Every generation carries a piece of the story, one that deserves to be reclaimed. Join us in reclaiming history. Visit the fair today. Connect with your roots and restore your identity.
Okay, so that's the foundation. And you can go to fairrules.org for more information on that. Because in all actuality, really, so I started to think, it was like, what's the purpose? So he has to restore so that we can tell the truth about history. So that, and there's the so that finally just got to the truth. Once I understood who I am and who my ancestors were, it became very, very clear that we are living in a version of slavery now, and that our ancestors were once free. I started to think about it and how we got to this point. Well, it starts with the theft of the land. I mean, all you have to do is Google Black land theft, and you'll start to realize and understand that the wealth gap was created by the theft of the land of the Aboriginal people that they're now calling African Americans. By who, though? And so this is what gets so interesting, and what we really need to hone in on. I was listening to these short reels on YouTube from a creator called Bar None. That's bar with three R's, okay? Bar _ none. Yeah, great fucking content, by the way, brother. But here's this video. He's a white American who has kind of like controversial, edgy, racist commentary, right? Comedic commentary. It's just really pretty funny, you know. And there's one where it's this, you know, so-called black chick, and she's like, so white Americans, you know, tell me what it means, how it feels to be white. And he goes on this, you know, his spiel about how I'm wondering if I should play it, but no, it's not that serious. Basically he says, yeah, well, we're all being blamed for, you know, stealing this land that's not even in our names, right? And what we'll find out is that when America was taken over and the land was stolen, it was by companies, corporations, dead entities. And they had to usurp the land from the original people because we originally just lived here for free. And that's not just here in America. All across the world, people were once free, free to love, free to, you know, do as they pleased. And you know what's so funny is, a lot of times people now would say, oh, well, we have to work. We don't want to be lazy or all these things, right? But really, what are we doing as a humanity, as a people? Why? Why do we need to make this money? Well, I'll tell you, the land itself has been taken by companies that want to profit off of our livelihoods. But there was once a time where people had access to fresh food, free housing, access to water. And we think, well, we have to do these things, okay? Because we have to pay this rent or this mortgage. But do we? Do we really? If the land was again held by the people and we truly just loved one another, and we didn't owe anybody anything, would we feel the need to charge each other for our homes? Why couldn't we come together as humanity, and whether it's harnessing the solar power, the wind, or like, Nikola Tesla had the idea for free energy for everyone, which I do believe, hold on a second. I do believe was once a thing when you start to get into like ancient civilizations and energy grids and things like that. But you'll find out that this is it. This is where we're getting into it right now. We're starting to find out that this land was taken, and these companies, like in Virginia, my ancestors' land was taken over by like the London Company, the Virginia Company. These were companies that they are posing as governments, but true governments, right? People leaders would stand up to ensure that the people had food, had shelters, you know what I mean? And now we're stepping over people like, oh, it reminds me of that Dave Chappelle clip where they're like, Oscar, yeah, you're a grouch, Oscar, and he's stepping over Oscar, and like, just like, nobody's helping. I'm the poorest man on Sesame Street. Nobody's helping me, right? And we wonder why people are walking around and stepping over homeless people. Get it together, Grouch, right? And even aside from housing instability, there's people in this world who are hungry, who are cold. I just watched another clip where they're talking about how billions of dollars are going into ICE paying for these detention centers. I mean, if we have this amount of money to throw into buying detention centers to harass people, however you feel about it or not, we should be able to create free energy grids to make sure that everybody has homes. We shouldn't want to have to profit. And what's so crazy about it is the average person truly isn't profiting from this system. And we don't owe anybody anything. I sit in here and I think about these companies that are profiting off of our livelihoods. These utility companies, these, people who think that they own the land, who are now charging us so that we could be safe and warm. Who are the ones profiting from these companies? Right? Capitalism benefits the 1%. And now, with the release of like the Epstein files, we're finding out that what the 1% does with their free time, that some of us have been brainwashed into thinking that the normal average person doesn't deserve free time, right? We don't deserve the time to spend with our families and cooking good foods for that will nourish our body. We don't deserve the time for ourselves, for our mental health, so that we can actually see what's going on. No, we don't deserve that time. But we feed into this system with our tax dollars, with our labor, that we are forced into because we have to pay these people for our homes and for the energy, okay? We are feeding into the system that is benefiting this 1%, and we are finding out that these CEOs and our politicians are using their free time to fly to private islands and literally commit the most heinous acts that can be committed against others. We're finding out that they're drinking blood and torturing babies and children and men and women, assaulting them, murdering them, literally eating their flesh. While the average person, even if they work so hard, sometimes doesn't have enough food at the end of the day or the month, who might be having a hard time making rent. And we think that we have some sort of say-so or control, but truly without access to the resources, we are seemingly stuck in this system. And how is that benefiting us? We teach our kids, you need to go to school, get a good job so you can pay these bills. But what if we made those obsolete? Created free energy for people, started to teach each other ingenuity so that we can continue to further the quality of life for all people. We are never intended to live here to feed this beast system. And the other thing I wanted to say about this Epstein files, I added the link. It should be for everywhere that I'm streaming, so you guys can look and rifle through and see these things. Here are some of the keywords you should type into: cream cheese, pizza. These are all code words that they're using to describe different things. And oh my gosh, when you start to go down the rabbit hole of how many times they've told us on TV, okay, what they're doing behind closed doors. Maybe I'll start to repost those on my Instagram. You guys follow me. I'm at the_American_Heiress. Once I get, I think it's 1,000 followers or something, I'll be able to go live there too. But the truth is that once we truly have this understanding, all suffering will be ended. Our currency could be love. Again, that was part of why they taught us to hate the original Americans, the American Negro. It's because when we are in our rightful place, we would be able to say no more. This land was given here to the people by the Most High. Every town, every community should have fruit trees, nut trees, gardens. We could create these, like I said, these free energy systems. We'd ensure that everybody had homes. The world could truly be a better place. But we have to release the mentalities that we were taught by this 1%, this very satanic group of people. And, we're living in such an interesting time because with the Epstein file situation, we're now getting this proof, right? Because a lot of people have been taught that we need this proof, when a lot of people were just using their voice and telling telling the world this for a long time. Whether it's recent victims or just looking at American history. This is not the first time in history that people who ran the world and controlled financial systems and politicians and whatnot were involved in human trafficking. All we'd have to look at is the colonization of America. Because that's what we're really looking at when we see the plantations and the slave catchers and selling people up and down the river. Okay? What do you think that they had oversight? They had checks and balances. What do you think the story was behind Sally Hennings? Okay. She was a child. This thing has been happening. Or Matawaka, who you know as Pocahontas, was a child when she was forced to marry John Rolfe. Or when we look at like the starving times in Virginia. So I don't know if I've ever said this on this stream, but I've said this many, many times before in previous broadcasts. But, part of what I found out was about my own family history is that I'm a descendant of the Indian Queens of Virginia, the Hildebrandts of the Hildebrandt route of the Trail of Tears, the founders of Pocahontas, Arkansas, the Kickapoo and other tribes were called up to Independence, Missouri during the first Mormon Wars of the 1830s. So I started to find out all this history and learned that, American history is so-called Black history, okay, and vice versa. But Black isn't a thing because Black is nowhere on the map, okay. What we're finding out is that we are actually just Americans, okay? And American is not just a nationality that everybody has now adopted, but it's also connected to our ethnicity and our blood. That's why when you look into more about the DNA that we are, sharing with the world through fairworlds.org, check us out, okay? You'll find out that it was so-called Black Americans' blood that has been, that is tied to these lands, and it gets deep, okay? But yes, exactly. Thank you, Mob and Mike. Hey, Jay Remy in the house. I'm looking. He says, "Yet these dudes are evil for real. Yet many rich people believe that they're doing the best they can for our livelihood, and that's just not the truth." And so, like I said, the thing is that it was hard to get us into the system. Everything was taught in reverse. Okay, now we're deep in the system. They don't need any chains on us and for us to have to go to work. The chains are within the contracts that we are signing because we believe that these corporations have a right to charge us for our birthright. But when you really look at it, you have to look at American history like it was, okay? These are companies that were coming over and they're taking this land and then they were forcing us into this system. Okay, I can get into it deep, but I really just wanted to make those points that these people don't care about us, that now more than ever, regardless of race, class, creed, gender, people need to stand together and say no more. There's no need for us to continue to feed this system so that these people can go off. And mind you, we're too busy, or we're sending our kids off to be taught, by these systems that are just teaching them to be more into the system, okay? And they're getting kidnapped, trafficked. We've allowed things to get too big. These corporations now are controlling our food supplies. And we wonder why nobody has nobody has stood up and really done anything about the fact that we know now who the perpetrators are behind this modern day, child trafficking. System. Nobody's doing anything. We're too dumbed down, too tired. I sometimes laugh because it's like, especially what's so funny is it's like once they started to they had to get us to believe, okay, and what they called a mercantile economy, right? Which was stupid because we owned everything at first. And mind you, it doesn't even have to be just Black Americans. At some point, if you are of this earth, your ancestors once lived in freedom and they allowed Mama Earth to provide for them. To believe in this capitalism not only works with landless people, with people who owe somebody something, but all we have to do is really understand and hear the truth. We'll realize that we don't have to make things so complicated. Life is truly simple. Every day people need food, they need water, running water, plumbing, energy to keep things warm, so that we can have electricity, so that we can have each other. Sometimes I look and I see people who are trying to put together programs for kids, okay? And we're like, but we need the funding, right? It's like, no, we really just need freedom. We need time. We're going to go out to a park. We're going to teach you guys some of these things that you know what I mean? Or we're going to play a game. It doesn't have to be. Okay. Also, the other thing that has been dropped in my spirit is about the unification. Now more than ever, especially as it relates to the original Americans and wanting to be able to reclaim who we are here in America so that we can right our wrongs, especially given, okay, now, there are some cities and states who are talking about putting out these reparations and they're lowballing people. Like, everybody who can connect back to this time period and place, the city, you'll get $20,000. I'm telling you guys now, listen, even if it's going to take some time for you to fully wake up and understand who we are here in America, don't wait for all the full evidence. Hear what I'm saying now. Do not take those offers. We are owed so much more than that. Even just if it was just about unpaid slave labor, okay, it would be more than $20,000. But we are owed for the land. We are owed for, the crimes against humanity, war crimes. We are owed for the trafficking. We are owed for being expelled from our own communities. Okay. So now that we understand, like, I'll play the videos again. You can also find more information about fairrules.org. But truly, and I want to be careful too. So I realized, the way that these people have gotten away with this is by just pitting people against each other. But even those that they use, okay, now to continue to further, bring people into this rotten fold, okay, are only doing it because they have been stripped of their land and their heritage and told that they have to make it out there, okay? There's so much to say. I don't want to make this that long, especially because I do got to get going. But yeah, people just have to take a good long look at what we're doing here. How can we make life better for all of us. I just, I love you guys. Yeah, thank you, Mama Mike. Mama Mike saying that this housing crisis should tell us that 20,000 won't do nothing. That's why a lot of us are saying to pay us with the land we've been owed. Yes, or just the land. We should, I mean, especially given the history, just looking at, the Greenwood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and how we were bombed there. That was so for those of you guys who are not familiar with Greenwood or Tulsa, Oklahoma bombings, it was a free, so-called free black neighborhood or community, city, town, okay, that had like their own airports and hospitals and hotels and grocery stores and things like that. And it's like, we had our own things at one point. And they had to stamp those out because they needed us to feed into this big system, as well as they didn't need any free communities around that would, entice other people to say, hey, why are we doing this? We can be over here. And so, really, truly, that's what people need right now. We need land. We need to be able to provide homes for people. We need to make sure that nobody goes hungry, that they don't have to worry and go through some sort of American healthcare system. I don't know if anybody watches South Park. I'm the biggest South Park fan, okay? But in that the end of obesity, right? They're talking about this convoluted American healthcare system. You have to go through this, and then the insurance, and then this, you know what I mean? All just to get healed. It's like back in the day, we didn't need to go and jump through all these hoops to just love one another. You're sick, you're okay. Like brother, sister, here, drink these herbs. The herbs were given, okay, to the people to heal the nations, okay? We would want to heal and treat one another because we loved one another. But in this system, this B system that we've been taught to revere, I know where I was getting to it, and I'm going to come back around to it. We have been taught, because it's such a like scarcity mindset, competitive sort of situation, to hate on one another, to be jealous of one another, to have our egos so big that we want to try to make other people feel bad about themselves. Like, this is crazy. Are you understanding what I'm saying? And we forgot just to love, to make sure that we are okay. And we get into this whole entire thing, right? We've been brainwashed so much that it's like, oh, this person needs to do this. They need to get a job and pay them bills, okay? And people, like it's benefiting them, like they are the stockholder of these PG&Es and these utility companies and things like that, right? When even the energy that we're harnessing comes from the land, the air, the sun, okay? There's ways to be able to provide for everybody. God has done it. Mama Earth has done it already. It's just been hijacked by these profiteers, okay? But what I want to say is, it's like, and not to get on anybody, because that's the mentality that we've been had, but we can step away from it, right? You would think that they're getting the check. People ride so hard for the system instead of having just love and compassion. Well, that's my rant for the day. We'll be back for more. I want to talk a little bit more about, another thing that we like to do over here is use children's movies to teach American history. I love the Trolls. The Trolls, you hear that they're, these creatures who are happy and they would sing really good. They can dance, right? Anytime you hear about people singing and dancing good, they're, you know what I mean, talking about Black folks, okay? They have the hair that goes up to the air, all right? And they were there first, and then they were discovered, right? And that's the huge keyword for, colonization, right? Just like Columbus discovered America, right? They were discovered by the Bergens, who were miserable, and they, they couldn't dance or sing, and they were rolled over by this greedy king, okay? And, they talk about how they were trapped in this inner city, basically. I get into it. You guys can go back to past lives if you wanted to. But really, along the Epstein files and the cannibalism and whatnot, they talk about how, once a year they surround this troll tree, these Bergens, and all the trolls are hanging from this tree, which is like American lynching, right? The part of history where they were lynching people, which is even still up to this day. There are Black people being hung, even here in California still, and they're like, oh, it's just a suicide. Okay, nothing to see here. But they would, surround this troll tree. And what they were doing was they were eating the trolls. It was a ritualistic sort of thing, and that even goes back to, actual real American history. And when they were lynching Black people, they were calling it Negro barbecues. And they were selling bits and pieces of our bodies. Like, you can get a little bit of some liver, some burnt liver here for 10 cents. And, if I have a second, because I do got to get going, I will post some links to some of those sources that teach about that history. But, the truth has been around us this whole entire time about, who we are. But more than anything, this is a wonderful time for everybody, all people, to understand that. That one, we're free. We have to invest in systems of freedom instead of investing in this B system that's keeping us dumb and divided and sick. I hear that all around the world now, with the release of these Epstein files, okay, that there has been breakthroughs in cures. Hold on, baby. I'm all right now, okay? There has been breakthroughs in finding cures and stuff for cancer. These sick people were holding back this information because the pharmaceutical companies are making so much money by keeping us sick. Okay? All people have to understand is that we are free. And this reminds me of Kanye West. Lord, nobody can ever make me hate Kanye, okay? Who was talking about, how slavery is a choice. And yes, that could be controversial, especially given the fact that there were times where things were, people were kept in systems by chains and, whips and whatnot, okay? But now there's no need for us to pour our money and our time and our energy into systems that don't give us anything. Where the more we get into the system, the more things cost. Where we don't even have free health care. Where people are cold, they're homeless, they need food. Are you understanding? And that nobody can make money off of Mama Earth. That's the truth. The earth was given here to the people. Okay? So that's all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for people who joined me live. I'm happy to get back with you guys. Yeah, no, they have been. And if you research, you'll find out that there's countries all over the world who are now coming through the breakthroughs to these cures for cancer and whatnot. Now that some of these, secrets have been hidden in the Epstein files, and not just about like the for lack of better words, formula for these cures, but also just how corrupt these pharmaceutical companies are. People are starting to divest from these very medicine-centered ways of being, okay? If people were just healthy and we had access to clean food sources and water sources, and we weren't killing ourselves to try to make money for these folks, we wouldn't need those medicines as much. Okay. But anyway, I will see you guys all later. I really appreciate you guys. I'm sending so much love to each and every one of you guys. Know that you are worthy and special and loved, no matter what it is. Just because you are a child of the Most High, a child of this earth, no matter your age. Okay, that's all you need to be cared for and to be loved. I love you too. Oh my gosh. I love you guys so much. And I will see you guys soon.